So, what would you say were some of the long-term and short-term effects of the Tiananmen Square massacre?
Short term, I think that it inspired in China the idea, or amongst the Chinese people, that there was possibly some hope coming out of. I think there was a pro-reform leader that had been assassinated, and this led to student protests or a student movement in China. And when Tiananmen Square happened, there was kind of this idea that there was some sort of reform or hope on the horizon, and then that was tragically squashed by the Chinese military. So I think short term, it had devastating effects on reform movements in China, and I think the same can be said for long-term effects. It showed that real, genuine protest isn't allowed in the Chinese system.
Okay. And would you say that these events had any effects on the Hong Kong protests of today?
I don't think there's a direct connection between them, but I do think that there are parallels that we could point to. I think that extradition and communist reform are two different things, even though the Hong Kong protests have become about so much more. I think that we're seeing a China that is kind of taking a lot longer to think than they did in 1989. So I think that they're hesitant to show that side of them now in 2019. But I think that everyone kind of realizes it's there because the people, there's violence and there's the government's cranking down on them. So there's all that going on. But at the end of the day, they have been a little bit more accepting of the protests.